So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this discussion on transport and power. Two areas which generally are understood to have no connect, but as the time is passing, looks like in the near future, there would be a lot of interoperabilities between the two. So despite the encouraging growth trajectory in the energy sector in the last few years, the Indian power sector has moved slow on required capacity addition, matching the ever-growing power demand of the country. While the power deficit situation has improved, there are concerns relating to fuel security, financial health of discoms, and under procurement of power by states, and financing and project appraisal. In the last few years, several measures have been undertaken as proposed by the Electricity Amendment Bill 2014, and more recently the Uday Yojana to address financial issues faced by discoms. On the other hand, India is fast moving to adopt EV technology. Each of the transport corporation and smart city is either running or planning pilots on EVs. The fact remains that this is expensive and we are yet to develop the infrastructure for charging and maintenance. And of course, the plumbing required, which is going to be connected with the grid sector. Financial stability of the transport undertakings is already a big question. So we have with us to discuss these issues, Mr. Himanshu Chawla, Joint Director, Tariff Engineering, Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission, Mr. Mohammad Aijaz, who is former Managing Director from Kashmir Power Distribution Corporation Limited, currently the Deputy Commissioner of Srinagar, and Mr. Rahul Das, who is Managing Director of Assam State Transport Corporation, and joined by Mr. Prahlad S. Desai, Additional Director, Transport Department from Government of Goa. Let me move on to invite Mr. Himanshu Chawla, who in the power sector has worked across domains like generation, consultancy, and regulatory issues, wherein he has effectively utilized his techno-commercial educational qualifications effectively. He has provided regulatory assistance to various power utilities and regulatory commissions of Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, so on and so forth. He has also been associated with Haryana Electricity Regulatory Commission as Deputy Director. So apart from many other things, which is what you may like to talk about, as I've already mentioned, I particularly would like you to focus on how to balance regulatory intervention or hurdles, increase financing options, and operational efficiencies. So with this, I invite Mr. Himanshu Chawla.
Thank you very much, sir. And thanks a lot for providing SKOCH as a platform to provide my views, or views we can say, on behalf expressing the concerns about this sector. As far as like you talked about regarding, there is not that much expansion which has been seen in the power sector. But here I would like to highlight one point. Like as on date, we have somewhat around 400 gigawatt, or if I say 4 lakh megawatt of installed capacity in India from all sources, coal-based, hydro, gas-based stations. But the peak demand which touches of India is only of 2 lakh megawatt. So rest 2 lakh megawatt, we can say, or 2 lakhs megawatt is basically the unutilized capacity, or what we call in power sector terms is the stranded assets, which has been lying idle. So if we take 10% or 20% margin also in meeting the demand, then also we lined up somewhat around 1.5 gigawatt, 150 gigawatt of stranded capacity which is there. So as rightly pointed out, these stranded capacities, one of the major reason of such stranded capacities is lack of appropriate quantity of fuel. Like we don't have that much gas, we don't have that much of coal availability to run the power plants on the desired plant load factor of 85% or 90%. Now the effect what these stranded capacities bring into the system, and finally it percolates down to the consumer, is the higher tariff, higher electricity tariff. Because once a PPA, a power purchase agreement, is being entered between a distribution licensee with a generator, then fixed cost component has to be borne by a distribution licensee irrespective the energy output is coming or not. So now what has happened over a period of, if we analyze for the past 8 to 10 years, the demand as such, the peak demand has grown, but the energy consumption has not grown that much. Whereas we have tied up a huge capacities into the system, and in a way we are bound to pay the fixed cost, which increases the tariff burden to the consumers. So operational efficiencies can be achieved in, if we talk about in bullet points. First bullet point is the power purchase cost optimization, which we can discuss in detail how that can be achieved. Second is the AT&C loss level, which is AT&C is the aggregate technical and commercial losses, which is one of the main parameter a government sees in funding various states, giving grants like Uday. We talked about the Uday scheme. So now government has come up a new scheme of RDSS, revamped distribution sector scheme, wherein government of India has pledged to provide support of around 3 lakh crores to various Indian states, out of which 50% of the grant goes towards the smart metering part. Now, what I see smart meter, and in fact, prepaid smart meters can play a vital role in improving the financial condition of the sector as a whole. There are many states where the collection efficiency is very low, maybe 60% or 70%. For example, a bill is being raised to a consumer, whereas a consumer doesn't pay the bill, or there is, like from a distribution licensing, not much efforts have been laid upon to collect the money out of the consumer. Now, this part of the power sector, basically the distribution consumer interface, drives the whole power sector chain. Once a distribution licensee, if they are able to collect 100% of the amount which they are billing to the consumer, then and only then they will be able to pay to a generation company or to a transmission licensee. Now, what we can see from the Uday portal, so many crores, thousands of crores of dues are pending for the generation company. So, which spoils their financial health, independent power producers, all those things. So, prepaid smart meters will come up. So any person in the rural area or in the remote area, if they want to use the electricity, they have to first get their meter recharged, just like a normal phone prepaid system. First, they will recharge their meter, and then they will use the electricity. And smart feature in the prepaid will enable a distribution licensee to map the pilferage if it is there in the system, like theft. Now, Delhi is operating at an AT&C loss level of 8%, which is one of the topmost in the country. Now, how we have achieved, how we have come up to such an AT&C, to such a loss levels of 8% when the national average loss level is 20%. Few states are having loss levels of 30% or 40%. So all these loss levels are actually aggregating the issues in the power sector. So once we are unable to bill the consumer, if we are able to bill the consumer, we are unable to collect the money from the consumer. So when we are unable to collect the money from the consumer, we are unable to pay back as a discom to a generation company or to a transmission licensee. So this smart meters, in fact, prepaid smart meters can really solve the issues. Next, one more thing what we did is the aerial bunching, aerial bunch cables, AB cables, that is called. Like we see the wires which are having no insulation also. So in that, theft is very a common phenomena in big states, in the remote areas. So if those wires are being replaced by AB cables, or we can have a feeder segregation in place proper, then all those things can be mapped up. As far as a regulator goes, the role of a regulator is both sided to incentivize a distribution licensee if they perform above the target set by a regulator. So like in Delhi, we have incentive as well as disincentive mechanism for our distribution loss levels. So if the companies are performing better, so they are getting incentive in their tariff. Next, one more thing I would like to highlight in this section is, since we are also talking about the electric vehicles part. So Delhi was the first state, in fact, DRC was the first regulatory commission in the year 2017 to have a charging station category, tariff category for electric vehicle charging station, which is at a very nominal rate of 2 rupees per unit, a person can get his electric vehicle charged in Delhi. Full charging of an electric car requires somewhat around 10 to 12 units of electricity. So basically in 25 to 30 rupees, one can get the electric vehicle charged at the tariff decided by DRC. And then on full running, it gives an output somewhat around 200 kilometers. So it is highly cost effective even compared to CNG. But here there is one issue, what I feel, and this we can discuss it upon today. Like batteries, if we talk about cars, electric vehicles, today we are focusing only one technology, which is lithium ion based technology. Country as in India, we do not have much ores of lithium. So we are again depending upon other nations to have lithium and then to have the batteries to run our vehicles. I have what is my view in this? Why can't we have something called green hydrogen part or fuel cells part? Now the concept of green hydrogen comes into picture since it is a pollution free. Water is used as a fuel. Water, we all know, it is H2O, 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. When reverse electrolysis happens, it generates hydrogen as a different entity and oxygen as a different entity. Now this hydrogen gets trapped up and it can be used as a source of fuel in the car, which is the basic funda of a fuel cells. In this way, we do not have to depend upon the lithium ion batteries to run our electric vehicle cars. Finally, electric vehicles, electricity, we are getting again from certain fossil fuels only, from coal-based or from a gas-based. But if we adopt, right now, green hydrogen is somewhat costly affair. A lump sum fact shows 50 rupees per kilometer is the running cost of a bus or a car on a green hydrogen purpose. But if somehow through some scientific interventions, we bring down the cost, running cost from green hydrogen, then this will be a win-win situation for all the stakeholders. Because we do not have dependency on lithium, we do not have dependency on the fossil fuels part. Water is there in abundance, 70% of the earth is water. No doubt, majority is saline water, so we can have a desal plant installed, then we can get the water out of it. We can generate hydrogen out of it, and hydrogen is highly combustible and it is having a very good calorific value. So it can be used as a fuel. So as far as the other sections in this goes, financing options. So financing options is RDSS, which I have talked about. Here, Rural Electrification Corporation is a nodal agency designed by Ministry of Power, Government of India, for revamping the financial positions of the power sector of various states of India. But as far as the concept of green energy, or as far as the Millennium Development Goal 8, number 8 of United Nations goals of sustainable environment, then in my view, we should target green power, which should be an optimum mix of solar and wind, so that we get 24/7 green power, because solar is not available during night hours. But during night hours in the coastal area, there is huge dependency of wind, huge resources of wind. So optimum mix of wind and solar with focus on energy, green hydrogen as an energy storage mechanism can really be a booster in our sustainable environment part, and also it will help in improving the financial health of the sector as a whole. So maybe we can have the views of the other members also in this part.
Oh, I mean, you have raised some extremely pertinent points, and of course we'll come back to you with the more questions and when we have a Q&A. And this also you pointed out very well that energy use in India has almost doubled since 2000. But while we have added the capacity, our peak demand is half of that. And say whatever, solar accounts for less than 4% and renewable account for less than, put together 6% of India's electricity generation, and 80% of demand still is being met by coal, oil, solid biomass, so on and so forth. But yeah, these are some valid propositions that you have put in order to mitigate the the risk of reducing consumption, increasing the consumption at the same time, giving clean energy, because that is also extremely important. At this point in time, I would like to bring in Mr. Mohammad Aijaz, who is former managing director, Kashmir Power Distribution Company Corporation Limited, currently the Deputy Commissioner of Srinagar. So as MD of KPDP, where he did some phenomenal work. I leave up to him to talk about those innovations that he brought in, wherein he was hailed as the power man of Kashmir for maintaining regular supply during harsh winter months in the Kashmir Valley. Fact remains that high AT&C losses and other losses arising due to issues with tariff affect the ability of discoms to buy power to supply to the consumers. So my question to you, Mr. Aijaz, is that how to improve the health of the sector. Second, how to increase financing options and enhance operational efficiencies. Over to you, Mr. Aijaz. So I think he has dropped out. So we'll wait for him to come back. But I think these are valid questions to which even Mr. Chawla can answer. But we'll come back to you on this. You talked about the added consumption which is going to be mounted as a result of EVs and the availability and alternate technologies as green hydrogen. So the consumer of more of EVs and the EV technology is going to be the state transport corporations. And here we have Mr. Rahul Das, who is Managing Director of Assam State Transport Corporation, who had rightly said that in the beginning, a little while ago, that it was a loss-making organization, but certain innovations that it did, but got not to stop there. There's a lot more that needs to be done. So under the vision of the Chief Minister, he has prepared a plan for ASTC to make it a profitable entity in the next 5 years and carry out asset monetization exercise. Plans are already afoot to facilitate a better environment for the operation of more private operator buses under ASTC, besides increasing involvement of his own buses, which is what he's already doing with oil PSUs. So one government department is helping another department to bail out. While this may give a good push to the revenue generation, but this cannot be the answer. So corporation has taken up a plan for driving the soft skill training of 5,000 youth. And also there is an EV policy, which is already underway. So the same question goes to you, Mr. Das, that how to increase the financing options and increase operational efficiencies, and how can emerging technologies help in case the energy sector, which is renewables, and in the case of transport, it is EVs. Mr. Das.
Firstly, thanks for inviting me as well, and our endeavor of our Honorable Chief Minister. Yeah, definitely, we have taken up plans. We have taken up plans to my connection is little unstable. Do you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah, we have taken a few plans under the leadership of course Honorable Chief Minister. Yes, definitely asset monetization is one of the thing that we are planning, because in all state corporation you'll find that we have lands in many post locations. We have a huge quantity of lands that are in many places lying idle. So we have initiated the process of engaging a consultant to give us an idea how to go within a PPP model so that we can have a definite source of revenue from that. That is one of the plan we are making. Secondly, this PSU model we are already doing with that, and we are trying to increase that. And we are getting good response from other private parties were there. There were disruptions in services every time. There are bonds and something other else. but our services are 24 and into 7, and they're getting, even if there is some shutdown of vehicles, we replace totally non-stop, and they have got good services from us. So that has become a success model for us. So we are trying to increase that project so that our revenue has been enhanced. And is one good thing is that in that project we need not invest a single paisa. It's a zero investment thing. And even in the asset monetization part, we are planning for involving the PPP private parties to invest in our properties. At the same time, HPCL to for involving with us for the petrol pumps. Around 40 locations have been identified, 40 to 80 locations. So we will be tendering this petrol pumps soon. Along with that, other projects will be also there. So these are the initiatives we are taking up, and we are taking up with the private buses also to tie up with us. So there's buses which are not under STC at this moment. We are in discussion with them. Overall, we are planning and we're hoping that within the next year or two, we'll be, at least if not profit making, we'll be able to garner our own revenue to cater to our people. And at the same time, we'll be in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll be a profit making organization, definitely. And regarding this energy sector, yes, regarding this upcoming technologies, yeah, we have tied up with Smart City. Smart City is giving up 200 electric vehicles in the next year. We'll be getting 200 electric vehicles, which should be run within Guwahati city and the suburban areas, and another 100 CNG vehicles. So we'll be starting with this EVs to remove all the earlier fossil fuels buses, and we'll be removing all these vehicles in phase-wise from the Guwahati city initially, and then we'll move to the rest of Assam. It's an ambition of our Chief Minister that we need to move to the EV sector for a clean and green environment. At the same time, we can run, because we have the experience of running electric vehicles. We are already running 15 numbers of electric vehicles within the city and the suburban areas. We have 2 charging stations also from the last 2 years under the central scheme we got 2 years back. So we are planning to induct the electric vehicles to our fleet next year, and we'll be running this starting from Guwahati city. So it's an overall holistic plan. We are planning that with all this, initiative and with our leadership, that we can definitely come up with a profitable organization within the next 3 to 4 years, not 5 years at least. At least by 3 years, we are planning to get it a profitable one. Over to you. Thank you.
What are your plans on EVs? As you said that, you're adding CNG, you're adding EVs as well. So any plans wherein it's going to be majority EVs and the rest is going to be on CNG, wherein your dependence on the hydrocarbons is going to be zero?
Hydrocarbons, we are studying on it. First, we are starting with the EVs. We will be implementing this scheme of running 200 EVs. What our leadership is wanting, that we need to remove all the fossil fuel buses from the Guwahati city first. We'll be making EV environment all over the city. So we will have a clean, green environment here. So it will be definitely in a phase-wise, because we'll be inducting 200 EVs and 100 CNGs, because we have around another 700 diesel buses here. So we have to wipe out them phase-wise. So by 2nd or 3rd year, all the buses will be either converted to CNG or EVs, because EVs, private sector EVs, they are not actually, because it's a higher end. So either we need to convert them to the CNG, and rest we'll try to induct EVs from our government fund. So initially we'll start trying to implement all over the state.
Thank you. We'll come back to you with more questions. So
Thank you.
Invite Mr. Mohammad Aijaz. Is he with us now? I can see him there, but his video is switched off. Do we have Mr. Desai, Mr. Prahlad Desai? SKOCH team? Deepak and Stephen. Can you ping Mr.
Yes, sir.
Both these gentlemen are there, but their video is switched off. So, in fact, let me ask a question to Mr. Das. Assume that this is a situation which is going to come up. Assume that, as was mentioned by our other speaker from DERC, wherein 10 to 20 units of electricity is required for one charge of EV, which is equivalent to 200 kilometers. Given a district like Guwahati, wherein minimum run would be around 300 to 400 kilometers by on an average by a bus in a cycle of 24 hours. Same could be the number, or otherwise higher in the bigger cities. Is that the kind of pressure our power sector is geared up to take? Because forget the number of charging stations that we might create, but ultimately they have to be live. So do you think that they will be able to be supplied power by the discoms, or is going to lead to a shortage of energy? Mr. Das.
Your voice was disrupted for some time. What I could understand from your whatever I could hear is that the energy sector would be either geared up for the increasing amount of electricity consumption that is required for the for running these EVs, right?
Correct.
Am I right?
You're right. Absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, initially there wouldn't be much problem, because we will be putting up 9 to 12 stations in and around Guwahati city. Yes, in the long run, definitely there would be some. We need to think on that also. But at the same time, we are tying up with the Assam Gas Company for more and more CNG vehicles also. So this gas proposition is also been thought simultaneously, so that we have abundant gases here. So that is also been thought, that we are near all the highways, if we have CNG stations also, and at the same time, by some distances there will be charging station. In Assam, almost many charging stations, people from other states have come, they have even started also. I have seen one started in Jorhat. So people are starting to know about the electric vehicles. So this is the new future. So because as you already rightly stated that for kilometer unit, it's a very, very small amount in comparison to the fossil fuels. So future is definitely for the EVs. CNGs, yes, for the clean environment, we're trying simultaneously, because EVs are in the higher sector, so higher end. So, but for private vehicles, not for public utility, but definitely coming up, because people in the private sector is also liking to have this EV. due to its cost effectiveness.
Mhm. Mhm. So let me ask Mr. Chawla. You talked about the issues leading to the power deficit situation. You talked about shortage of fuel, which in fact is growing with the passage of time. So we have to go to green technology and alternate fuels. And high AT&C losses, which is what again has been a problem. But yeah, I mean Delhi is doing much better, but it could be as high as on an average 20, but in some cases 38% mentioned by you. So a differential tariff structure and delays in tariff revisions. These are the two things which is what also need to be tackled. So what are your views on this, and what is it that DERC is doing?
So differential tariff can be adopted. Like in Bombay, we have a differential tariff. Few discoms are having different tariffs, all those things. But in Delhi, we have been operating under the principle of one city, one tariff principle. Like be it the consumers of BSES or Tata Power or NDMC, all people are paying the same electricity tariff. And how are we maintaining it is through reallocation of power. Because there might be case that one of the discom is having low-end consumer, another discom might be having high-end consumer. So revenue recovery in that discom might be less, because if they are selling 1 unit of electricity, they are recovering only 4 rupees or 5 rupees. Whereas the other discom, if they are selling 1 unit of electricity, they are recovering 7 rupees a tariff. So a discom which is having low-end domestic consumer, that we are enabling them to have a low-cost power station, major entitlement to those discom. So in such way, the importance, or we can say the requirement of a differential tariff goes away. If we are able to match the power allocation in such a way so that all the discoms are at par, then the requirement of a differential tariff goes away. And as far as the efficiency of the discom in Delhi is concerned, so like I pointed earlier, the loss levels are much below the national average figure. And as far as the green power system goes, net metering, which is like a solar panel if we install on the rooftop. So that being Delhi as a city, we have exceeded even 170 megawatt capacity of net metering. So Delhi as a whole is having embedded generation of solar panels of 170 megawatt. As well as we have waste to energy management, like a few areas, like if you can see Okhla is there or some other areas are there. So we have 46 megawatt of waste to energy power plants operating in the Delhi. So in a way, we are also reducing the municipal solid waste. We are converting into electricity. We are having embedded solar. But just lastly, we were discussing about the EVs and their issues, like Mr. Das pointed out in Guwahati. In Delhi NCR, if you see, we have somewhat around 300 charging stations are there in picture. Now, what happens, like rightly said, whether our power sector is prepared to have such huge influx of electric vehicles in the sector or not. More than that, one more thing is there. There is one common phenomenon in electricity goes is the harmonics part. Because all these electric stations are basically DC powered. So that AC to DC conversion in the batteries. So this brings out the harmonics problem in the charging station. So what we have done in Delhi is the peak pricing and off-peak pricing. We have different timing. Like for example, if someone charges his car or buses during the off-peak hours. In off-peak hours, we have energy surplus system, which is common in all the states of India. So this can be one of the suggestions which can be adopted by all the states to have different time differential tariff. In peak hours, it can be paid by some premium. In off-peak, it can be at some discounted tariff. So people can be promoted to charge their vehicles during the off-peak hours of the day, so that it will not load the system. If we have flat tariff all across 24 hours, then the system will be highly loaded, for which I think the power sector is not yet matured enough to have such huge influx of electric vehicles which will be coming into the system as a whole. because there are certain other challenges of under power availability in some states also. Some states as on date are even adopting load shedding. So the power is not available even to provide to the residential or other consumers of the society. Then electric vehicles, that too so much huge in number. So power availability, harmonics, all those things can be avoided if we have time differential tariff for electric vehicle charging stations.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. In fact, the peak and the non-peak hours, then it will be appropriately utilized. Yep.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So I can see Mr. Prahlad Desai online, Additional Director, Transport Department for Government of Goa. So Mr. Desai, in fact, we missed you in the initial discussion wherein I had posed a few questions. So particularly in respect of the transport sector, how to increase the financing options and also the operational efficiencies so that most of the STUs which are stressed, they could become A, profitable, B, are able to infuse more technologies, bring in operational efficiencies to the extent wherein the modern practices like ticketing, the multimodal transport towards which we are moving all become a reality. And at the same time, the new technology also includes EV. So what's your take on that?
Actually, we have focused on issuance of permits, which transport department issues to transporters. So that we have done in coordination with NIC. NIC giving this Parivahan software, this Parivahan application, and that is used by all RTOs, all states. And as initiative of Goa government, we requested NIC additionally to provide this online issues. That means they have option at backend in offices. We work on Parivahan and issue permits. That our staff has to click all this entry, application verification, and that approvals, and then print out of permits, and then our authority has to sign and then issue to transporter. So as the initiative of Goa government, we told NIC that why not adopt such a facility that people just pay online and system verifies all the criteria which is required for permits, like fitness of vehicle, the road tax payment, if it is due or not, if there is challan pending. So all checkings, inbuilt checking is done by system only and directly approves the permit. So that we identified like goods permit doesn't need more this inspection of vehicle during issuance of permits, and then contract carriage, because that is done during registration of vehicle. So with this, we told NIC to give our additional option, and then NIC, we thank to NIC Delhi also because they also cooperated with us, specifically Ms. Divya Sinha and Joydeep Somsa. So like that, if other states wants this facility to be adopted, then they can directly contact NIC because all states are using Parivahan application for vehicle registration and driving licensing. So all states should adopt this because the NIC there is no financial include in this. NIC is doing it free of cost. There is no financial included.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Das, if you can hear me, Mr. Das, can you hear me? Yeah. So what I want you to tell us is, you are on way to recovery, and the recovery can happen only two ways: either by way of innovative financing models or infusion of capital. But at the same time, you have to bring in efficiency. So what you are talking about, in addition to whatever you are doing, the intelligent traffic management system, the GPS tracking and all those kind of things is pretty common, and the ticketing and the fare and ticketing system, which is automated. So what are your plans there, and to what extent have you been able to achieve? I know there has been a lot of hurdles there.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very valid question you have raised. Things are already in place. We have been tied up with Smart City because all the new buses will be coming, and in Guwahati City, we have planned to do that. By the next year, next financial year, we're planning to start with that. That would be actually requiring, if you for the smart management, that would definitely be required. And for the GPS tracking, yes, we in all the PSUs which we have delivered the buses, they are all GPS track. They are all GPS. We are planning to do that because this, but with the other PSUs which we have given, they're all with the GPS. We can monitor them. Everything can be done. And e-ticketing, yes, of course, we have an e-ticketing system in place. That is for our own buses, and under STC buses, these are in place. But we are trying to have it in a holistic way, trying to involve everyone, and we are trying to involve this one card system that can be a multimodal sort of thing that can be used everywhere in railways, in buses, like in 2-3 states that has started. So we are in the process of doing that also. So in a way, we are trying to connect the last mile connectivity also. These are the things we are trying simultaneously, and every office will be now computerized. This has also been in now. Everything will be computerized, even the through SAP. We are trying to do that. So so that pilferage will be less. So these are the initiatives we are doing simultaneously, apart from the initiative for enhancement of revenue. Over.
Yeah, thank you. If I may go on to ask Mr. Chawla, the situation in front of us as it exists today is that our capacity addition has been slow in last couple of years. In 2020, I have some numbers with me. India managed to add around 7.2 gigawatts against 20 gigawatts which were added in 2019. On the other side, the electricity demand has contracted by 2.6% in 2020. I mean, looks like this is a scenario, correct me if I'm wrong. We are producing less, and at the same time, we are trying to enhance the consumption. So do you see a dichotomy there?
I don't see like any mismatches may occur in near future, because already as on place we have, if we talk about the exact numbers, as on 30th November 21, as per Central Electricity Authority, we have 392 gigawatt of installed capacity. Mm-hmm. Peak demand, which has just touched last year, which was the maximum demand which was to be touched, it is 182 gigawatt. So peak demand means a demand which is just touching for certain intervals of time in a year. Means it is not the base load. It touches only for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then again it comes back to 170 or 175. So capacity addition, which has been on a slow pace. So this we have also observed, and COVID is one of the main reasons for it. The commissioning of the major stations, even renewable stations also, whose gestation period is very less. So that has been delayed on account of COVID reasons. Manpower was not available, certain equipments were getting delayed at site. So all those issues have contributed in getting the capacity added. But I don't think such delay of capacity which has not been added will disable us, may disable us in meeting the demand of the country. Mm-hmm. So this point, but one thing is there, the demand which we are meeting, that is the demand which we talk about, there are many ifs and buts related to it. First of all, like if I would talk about Delhi, we have been meeting 24/7 mandate of 24/7 availability, as well as meeting the consumer demand also.
Mm-hmm.
So a consumer, there might be many consumers like they have been connected, but they are not getting supply 24/7. Availability, supply is not being met. So there may be another reasons to it. Distribution licenses are not paying to the generators. So generators are regulating their power, or the power is being curtailed by the generators. So lack of capacity addition in meeting the demand of a consumer. So this, I don't think such a situation is there. The delay may be on account of the COVID reasons.
Yeah, that's on a positive note. In fact, as far as pandemic is concerned, it has, as I said in the beginning itself, it is not a new normal now, it is the normal for us. So a lot of disruption that has taken place, it has also brought in latent opportunities which probably we are not looking at. So that is to do with the reforms, that is to do with the adoption of technologies, that is to do with the whole lot of the tasks which were pending, but now they've taken primacy over many other issues. So great inputs from your side.
RDSS scheme, RDSS is a revamped distribution sector scheme which has recently launched by MOP.
Yeah.
So this thing will definitely be a game changer for the power sector of India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can see because the green shoots are already there, because we have got as you rightly pointed out, that we may say that the capacity addition has slowed down, but one sector which was one geographical region which was northeast, it was power deficient. I won't say it become power surplus, it's become power adequate. Whatever efforts that have been taken up. So all the geographically challenged areas, they were never on the radar, but the focus has shifted. So this all has come in the last couple of years. I don't know. Part can be attributed to the good thinking which has resulted as a result of pandemic, and part as a result of the policy decisions which have been taken up. And definitely the revamped distribution sector scheme is going to go a long way. And smart metering is the answer and the solution for the health, to maintain the health of the power sector, because the recovery of dues, we may say in one unit there will be 1,000 rupees recovery pending, but look at the number of units. So that is the accumulated losses, and that's over and above AT&C and T&D losses. So there's a whole lot of good things that it will bring in. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this discussion, Mr. Chawla, Mr. Desai, and Mr. Das. We've had a very good discussion, very good takeaways that in the form of moving forward, we not only have to increase our reliance on green technologies, we also have to increase our reliance on alternate technology, as you talked about hydrogen. So good thought to take it further. Well, thank you so much for joining us.